What's up, HSPVA? This is Phoenix Perez, visual arts sophomore, and I will be doing today's masterclass on painting, and we're going to be learning about like paint mixing and stuff. So for today's painting class, I'm going to be painting what I like to paint best and what I'm best at. I like painting self-portraits. That's just my thing. But you at home, you can paint whatever you want because, like, you know, it's your paint, and this is just a class where we're gonna, you know, get to know how to mix colors and really just strengthen our artistic skills, because while yes, you can use the paint straight from the tube, and while you can make something everybody else makes, what makes art special is that it's your art and that it's something original to you and something that you choose. Like, it could be a favorite cartoon character or your favorite animal, you know, or, you know, whatever wacky crazy dream you have. Let's just make something cool. Sorry to sound like a middle school art teacher, but I'm kind of nervous because, you know, I'm thinking about like years after this video is over and it's finally posted, I'm gonna look back and be like, what was I doing? You know, my art has changed so much throughout my time at PVA, like from being a freshman to like being a sophomore. I know it's only like a 1 year difference, but 1 year really makes a big difference when you've been painting and drawing every day for like 3 hours. Every single day for 3 hours. Alright, so I finished my sketch and it's very rough. It's not gonna look at all like what the finished product's gonna look like, but let's take a little bit of red, yellow, blue, and white. I'm sorry, that's my rabbit. I can't really put her anywhere else. So now what you're going to want to do when you've got your colors all laid out is first you're going to want to start mixing out a skin tone. Just a neutral skin tone, you know, nothing too crazy. A lot of skin tones that you probably see are more yellow or red based, but yeah, so I'm just going to take a little bit of yellow, mix it with white, and then add the tiniest bit, just a little bit of red to sort of give it a fleshy tone. So I'm just gonna mix that in, and then with the blue and the red, I'm gonna mix a little bit of purple, just a tiny bit of purple, and then with that purple, I'm gonna add it to the fleshy color mixture, because for me, that's just how I deepen the skin tone, just a tiny bit. And so it should be a color like this. Sorry, the lighting's not the best, but it should be sort of like more neutral now, more dark. And so now I'm gonna go back in with the red and I'm gonna just deepen it up a little bit. And then of course, I'm gonna go back with a little bit of the yellow. And then to top it all off, I'm gonna mix it with some white. And so now we've got a beigey sort of color that looks like this. All right, so since this is gouache, I'm going to wet it a little so it turns into like a watercolor type mixture. And then I'm gonna put it on the face, just like so. So it's giving out that kind of color and that kind of consistency. I'm gonna dip my brush back in because I want a lighter wash of color. This is what they call, the kids call underpainting, I think. And so underpainting kind of just gives the general idea of the color that you want in the area. And yeah. Also, I should disclose that personally, I don't like using like regular graphite pencil for when I sketch out my sketches. I usually like using colored pencil. I just couldn't find any. For me, colored pencil doesn't move as much as graphite does, so it's easier to, it just doesn't have that smudgy kind of look when you go to paint over it. That's what I find. Alrighty, so we've done a little bit of the fleshy color and we're gonna let that dry. And now we're gonna focus on the hair. Sorry. So as Monet once said, or what he used to do, he would actually never use the color pure black. He would just make darker variations of already pre-existing colors, and that was what he did. He never ever used black. So for me, I do use black, but I like to mix it with other colors. So as we said before, it's not straight from the tube. It looks more natural. And so yeah, I mix a little bit of black with a little bit of red and blue to give it that purpley kind of tone. And so what I do is I add the water and I go on and I start painting the hair. This is not the finished product of the hair, but you know, just to give the general idea of how I want this painting to go. All right, I'll show you guys what I'm doing too. I'm taking my brush and I'm kind of just going very soft motions. You kind of gotta let the brush do the work. But it's also good to have a firm hand. You see, you hold it kind of like a pencil, but you still give the brush some of its length and its brushiness, if that makes sense. All right, so now that I've kind of got the base of down what I want the hair to look like, I'm gonna go back in and I'm gonna use black mixed with a little bit of blue for my turtleneck. So black with mixed with blue. And then I'm going to just add a little bit of water. You can do this with acrylic paint too. I just personally, gouache is like, it's just more worth it to get gouache because then you get acrylic and watercolor in like one. And I think that's a pretty good deal. I got my set at Texas Art Supply, but honestly you can find a set on Amazon for like very less expensive than Texas Art Supply. But you can get a discount if you're a student, and I do use it quite often. All right. And we're not doing any details yet. Details are like the fun, like part of like the Sunday that you save for last. I just wait till the end because then I get to really like go crazy. But you got to get the boring stuff done first. All right, so now that I've blocked in the shirt and it looks like this, so it looks very, very basic. We're going to fix it up, I promise to God. Now I'm going to do what I think that everybody who's painting skin tones or, you know, skin tones similar, you know, to like fleshy colors should do, is to add some color to your skin tone. And what I mean by when I say this is that when you look at your skin, you know, it's not perfect, you know, it's not all naturally one color. If you look really hard at it, or maybe I just have like the eye of an artist or something, but there are certain like parts where you can see sorts of green and like blue and purple undertones, or like really just those kinds of colors naturally in your skin. And so what I do is I take a little bit of red or, you know, whatever undertone there is, and I mix it with a yellow or a white color, just to give that little bit of sort of, you know, sort of like, it just adds more dimension, I personally think, than just leaving it all one color or using all neutrals, because it just looks more natural. As I said, like nobody's face is like 100% one color unless like, so what I'm doing here is I'm adding like more sorts of shading to the areas of the face where it's a little bit darker, a little bit, you know, not as neutral as, you know, the base color that we have put down. So now I'm going to just keep adding more colors. This is what it looks like so far. Again, we will get there. We will really get there, I promise you. All right, decided to move on ahead to the whites of the eyes because I think there's something that we could all learn from there too. So for me, I personally, I don't like using pure white for the whites of the eyes. I mix it with a little bit of red because that's just my preference, because I do a lot of sad portraits and I think it looks cooler. But you can mix it, you know, just with whatever other color you want. Some people have like tinges of yellow in their eye, you know, it all really depends. And I made the eyes a little bit bigger because my drawing was freaking me out because they were a little bit too small. So after I've done that, I'm gonna go back into this painting with a smaller brush, and we're gonna continue working on the parts of the face. So as you can see, I'm wearing makeup today, so I'm gonna try to emulate some of my makeup into this painting. So I'm going to mix a little bit of red, or in this side it's magenta, and white, and I'm just gonna mix that together to give like a light wash of, you know, pink. And I'm gonna go back in with my water just to really like blend it out. So, all right. I'm going in with a really small brush because this is kind of a small notepad and a small painting. And I don't know about you, but for my paintings, I just kind of like to exaggerate the natural colors of the face. I don't try to go for something super realistic because it's just not as fun. I personally, I like to exaggerate certain features of the face, like the under eye bags, or, you know, the cheek redness, or really just, I like to emphasize the imperfections, because for me personally, it feels more raw and more real. And I find that if you include imperfections in your artwork, other people can connect to it more because they're like, oh, look, I can relate to that. And, you know, I want to make art that's relatable, you know, still unique, but something relatable. All right, so now I'm mixing a blue and a yellow, and I'm making a little bit of a green, tiny bit of a green moment going on here. And I'm gonna mix a little bit more yellow because I like a lime green. And now I'm going back into my water, and I'm just gonna add this a little bit under my eye. So it has sorts of like, it complements the pink, in my opinion. And I'm gonna start adding the green to certain parts of the face where I just feel like I have a little bit discoloration, or just, yeah. So it adds, in my opinion, it just makes your painting feel more real. I'm sure I've said that a million times, but gotta emphasize it. All right, so I blocked in the eyes and I've added a little more green, and it looks like this so far. And so, yeah, we're just gonna keep adding colors. Now I'm going to make purple, and I will let you see how that looks. I use variations of purple for the shadows of the face because, once again, I'm gonna let you know a secret. I'm not really great at making neutrals, so color is just the way that I find it's easiest to add depth or add expression. I guess that's also why I like using unnatural colors for some parts of the face. But in all honesty, like, I mean, you can do what you want. I just think it looks cool. So I'm adding shadows under my eyes, and I'm gonna add some to these parts of my noses because I put on a lot of highlight on my nose, and these are looking really shadowy now. So yeah. Gonna mix the purple, and I'm gonna mix in a little bit of red, just a little bit, just to really give it that kind of rosy purple, if that makes sense. I don't know, red based purple, geez. All right, so I'm sorry, I know you can't see what I'm doing right now, but it would be really hard to film this if I did show you. So I'm just lightly adding shadow, and remember, I'm adding more water to blend it all out. So basically you just pretend this is a watercolor tutorial, but anyway. So now I'm gonna go back in, and I'm gonna focus on the nose, and I'm gonna add a little bit, a tiny bit of a sort of dark purpley pink. And that's just gonna be for the shadows under my nose, or, you know, around it. And I figure since I have this color, I'm just gonna go ahead and add it around to the cheeks because I feel like the pink that I added earlier just is a little bit too rosy, or too light, sorry. I want kind of that darkish, you know, more somber colors. See, I really like to go for the exaggeration of things. Self-portraits are how I choose to express myself most freely, and I have a lot of fun making them, so they're kind of like important to me. So I hope that you're, you know, making something important to you as you're watching this. All right, so it looks like this now. Still terrifying, still not there yet. And we're gonna keep going. All right, so just gonna add more red to the nose that I lost. And I'm gonna blend it out to the top so that it's not all just, you know, one shade. And as I'm working on the nose, I'm gonna start adding color to around the lips. That way it's sort of, not on the lips, just around it, so we can add some depth and some shadow in there. All right, so now I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna work on the eyes because they're freaking me out. And yeah, so okay, my secret, I only use black on like the eyes because I just feel like it looks better. So I'm gonna just draw sort of what I'm wearing today. And this part you gotta be really careful with because the eyes can, for me, make or break a portrait. We got sort of the wing for the first eye, and now we're gonna move on to the second one. I'm making tiny strokes for my eyelashes because I love small details. All right, so now it kind of looks like this. So not as terrifying, yay, we did it! All right, so now that I've added sort of my makeup that I'm wearing today, I'm going to go ahead and mix a little bit of a brownish shade, but it'll probably end up being more like black and purple based, which you know I'm fine with. All right, so here's what my palette looks like. Lots of mixing going on here. And now I'll just start on the eyes. You don't want to make them too big because then it's gonna look weird. Not too big or too small. That's what I do. And I figure now I'm gonna go ahead and add color to the lips because, you know, white lips, it's not the move for today. So I'm just gonna go in with a sort of rosy color, but I'm gonna add some yellow to it because it'll be sort of like more nude-ish, I guess. So now it's sort of orangey, so I'm just going on and I'm doing that for the general lip color. And it's gonna look something like this. All right. I'll do a reveal of how the painting looks. I know it's very hard to see with like the general lighting that's here. All right, so let's keep painting. I used to really suck at painting, if we're gonna be honest here. I used to be really terrible at it. I remember my first painting for PVA, it was literally it should not even be considered a painting because it was just like a blue background and then like black lines over it. I mean, it was like a Gouache painting, but like still. It was not very good. And it was only until I got into PVA that I started experimenting more with it, and I just fell in love with it. And now I'd like to consider myself, you know, kind of experienced. I made like a 3-foot painting with like my best friend, Claire, freshman year. It's really cool. You should see on my Instagram because you should follow me. But so yeah, now I'm just adding a little bit more depth to the lips. And I just went in with like the dark little rosy color and, you know, just very lightly drew in some lip lines. So now it looks like this. Pretty cool, huh? I know, probably not very cool, but we're gonna keep mixing. And so now I'm gonna go in with some lighter variations because my lips aren't naturally that dark. So I'm gonna go in with some lighter variations of the sort of orangey, peachy nude color. And I'm gonna just paint over the lips. I'm gonna add a little yellow. white. And red. Right, so now I'm back. I took a little break from filming, but this is how our piece looks right now. So it's sort of getting somewhere, right? So now I'm just gonna focus on the eyes again, and I'm gonna go ahead and mix a little bit of a blue and a little bit of a black together, just so I can get sort of like a faux black, or just a little bit of a less harsh black color. So gonna go in very gently. I don't want to put more paint on than I need to. The eyes are probably my favorite part of doing a piece, if I'm gonna be honest. I just think that you can add a lot of depth and a lot of emotion to your piece just by focusing on like one part of the face. All right, now I'm gonna keep using that black, and I'm just gonna water it down a little bit, and I'm gonna put it on the bottom of the nose just to add that nice little shadow of depth. I'm gonna go ahead and add that to the bottom of the lip, or on top of the lip too, actually, and maybe the top of the head to get the shadow of my bangs. I cut them myself. All right, then I'm gonna go in with a little bit of a red. I'm gonna take a small brush, just a tiny bit of the red, and I'm gonna water it down, and then I'm gonna put it around the eyes, just as that's how I prefer doing my eyes things. The whites of the eyes. Just adding a little bit of red. And I'm adding more shadows. All right, and I'm gonna go ahead and add some highlights now. So I'm mixing a little bit of the red and a little bit of white, and I'm gonna make a really light pink color that I'm gonna use to add some highlights. So it's sort of like a baby pink. It's very, very light. It's almost white, but just not quite. So it's like this color. I know this is really bad filming, but we're gonna add them anyway. So I'm gonna add some to my nose and a little bit to my lips, and I'll add a dot for my eyes. All right, and now we've pretty much got a sort of, this is the face, and now it's time to work on the eyes, and sorry, not the eyes. Now it's time to work on everything else. So since I'm wearing black today, and I don't want to use black, I'm gonna go ahead and mix a little bit of my blue and my black to create that blue black, and I'm gonna go in mixing it with the paint, and then I'll just, you know, roughly start to like press it against the part that I already painted previously. So I'm just roughly like blocking it in even more, not really caring about which way it's going, as long as it doesn't touch the face, then we're good. All right, so now it looks something like this. So it's sort of more like shirtly, I guess, you know, want to get the ripples in there and stuff. Then I'm gonna go in with my water, and I'm just gonna lightly mix in between. I don't want to mix all of it together, because then it's just gonna create a singular wash of color, but I want it to be sort of textured. And I'm just like beating my brush against it. It's probably looks very aggressive, but I promise I'm not being too hard on it. All right, I'm gonna add some to the sides too, because you don't want my head to just be floating, you know. Now for the hair, this is how I add more details to my hair. I just take a little bit of black, just a tiny bit, mix with the blue, and then I just start going over the hair. So it'll sort of seem like the stuff that we put down previously was just a highlight, or some highlights of some sort. So yeah, a little bit of water, black and the blue, and you want to go in, and yeah, I'll show you how it looks, because it doesn't look that bad, I promise you. This is just for my hair. For other hair colors, I would suggest, you know, using like a lighter shade or something. And now for my turtleneck, since, you know, it's got some highlights of its own too, I'm gonna go back into the mixture that I made and I'm gonna swirl it around. And I'm just gonna add some general lines to like define my turtleneck better. All right, and lastly, we need to add a background, just a small wash of color. That's what I usually do. Here's the painting as it is right now, and of course, when I'm done with it fully, I will show it from my perspective of how the painting looks. Better lighting probably too. All right, I've added my final wash of color over the piece, and you know, this 20-minute painting is done. And so here's the finished product. I hope you enjoyed this little painting lesson with Phoenix, and yeah, thank you so much for watching.